And we are live once again with the Onyx Path news. Hello, welcome, and very glad to see you here this Monday. Yes, we're back on a Monday. Last week was a Tuesday. This week is a Monday. Who knows where we'll be next week? Life's a lottery. Be lucky. Now, NOVAS Worldwide is our big release for last week. It is a sourcebook for Trinity Continuum Aberrant that sets you up with 3 to-play scenarios of varying types, putting your superheroic characters, well, not all of them are actually heroic, let's just call them what they are, freaks, mutants, bizarre creatures with powers undefinable and excessive. Your aberrants have these 3 scenarios that are going to test them morally as well as through fortitude, and in the usual way that comic book stories tend to test our protagonists. Now, I'm a big fan of NOVAS Worldwide, not least because of the written content, but because of the art, which you would have seen on the, I guess, still image for this video. If you click the link below, there is a link below to NOVAS Worldwide, you'll be able to see what I mean. I think it's a beautiful front cover, just really a fantastic use of art, and I would love it if people check NOVAS Worldwide out. I don't think it bears saying, but I'll say it anyway because damn it, that's the kind of person I am. Scenario books, as we expect, only tend to appeal to story guides more than to players, but that doesn't mean there isn't useful content in this for players. There's all sorts of things for your characters to pick up on and incorporate into their character stories, motivations, and so on. But of course, I will throw in the usual warning that if you are intending on playing this or having someone run it for you, you probably shouldn't run the adventure or read the adventure in advance. One other thing, and this is something that is really pertinent as it, as I say, as it pertains to NOVAS Worldwide, is because we have our Start Playing Onyx Path night every single month, and we've got our coming one this Friday. I very much recommend that if you want to give Trinity Continuum Aberrant a go, this is an excellent book to start with. 3 scenarios straight from the book. Pick one, run it this week. Why not? Or if you want to save it for next month, do it then instead. These kinds of books are more useful, I think, than a lot of people imagine. There's obviously a lot of GMs out there, and I include myself in this, who predominantly only run what they write or come up with themselves. But never forget that these books are wonderful troves of inspiration. You don't have to run scenarios from beginning to end exactly as they are written on the page. You can take characters, you can take events, you can take traps, you can take powers, you can take all these different things and put them in your own scenarios, and hopefully you do so, because I would love to see people picking up and leaving a review on NOVAS Worldwide. Another release that we made last week was the VTT pack for Pan's Guide for New Pioneers. It's a big Pugmire campaign, ideally for starting characters, but not necessarily, doesn't have to be. Now, I want to give a special shout out to Pan's Guide for egotistical reasons. I developed this book, and it was one of my first books that I developed solo. I think it may have been the very first book I developed solo from memory, and it was quite an adventure to get to do that on Pugmire. It was a lot of trust and faith that Eddie put on me to do it, especially because it's a fairly experimental scenario. Pan's Guide comes not only with the expected chapter by chapter encounters that you would usually get in a published scenario, also has a very interesting by design layout where you have everything paired with fiction, and everything is paired with an audiobook version of the adventure. That's right, there's an audiobook version of the adventure that can be found on YouTube. The link is in Pan's Guide for New Pioneers. Now, the VTT version of this scenario is, of course, equipped with all of the assets, tokens, maps, and so on that you will need to play this on a virtual tabletop, or you can use to play on a virtual tabletop. And these kind of assets have been a long time coming for Pugmire. I'm glad to see them out there now. I'm very proud of the work that the team did on Pan's Guide, so do check it out if you get the opportunity. So I mentioned Start Playing, and of course that was the focus on last week's Onyx Path news. I'll mention it again. This weekend we have our Onyx Path night, this Friday I should say. The link is below. As I mentioned, I won't labour the point this time. If you want to run a game or you want to play a game, click that link, check it out this Friday, have a look and give it a try. Play something you've never played before, run something you've never run before, and don't be afraid to put up an ad for a game you have no experience with and say in the title or in the description, new group, looking for a new group, or unfamiliar with the rules, looking to learn. Remember, these events are fantastic opportunities for you and other players like you to come together and all learn a game at the same time. There's no pressure for someone to be a games master. You can all be enthusiastic amateurs and learn about how to play a game together, build characters together, and then decide if that game's for you. So do give it a try. The last thing I wanted to say on this Onyx Path news, which is obviously less happy and infinitely more tragic, and it's something we have, of course, announced. We've written about it last week, but I don't think we can really go through a news episode without mentioning it. And nor should we. One of our frequent collaborators, co-developers, co-writers, and friends, Leith Shields, very sadly passed away last week. Now, if you have been a fan of the Trinity Continuum line of games, or either of the Werewolf line of games that we work on, among many others, Leith was a prolific creator, and you would have found his name in a lot of the credits. He was incredibly active with our fan base on our Discord and in our forum. On the forum as Bunyip, and in the Discord, I think as Quadrakinetic. I think you have to excuse if I have mispronounced it. But was always on hand to answer questions about our games and help players who needed guidance. And as I have written, and I have now written about Leith's passing a few times to various people. The most important thing isn't the work Leith did for us, but the friendships he made, the people he made smile, and beyond everything in the RPG industry, that he had a family, a wife, kids, and that it is truly tragic that he died so young. So I'm mentioning it here because, well, he deserves to be mentioned. He certainly shouldn't not be. So we thank you, Leith, and if you are a fan of his work, read it again, run it at the table. Enjoy the amount of effort that he put into all of his books, because I can say that as a frequent colleague of his, he always delivered. Fantastic ideas, wonderful enthusiasm, one hell of a team worker and collaborator. There was never a project that he wasn't sort of in the trenches and helping his teammates. So yeah, as players, as fans, as customers, as readers, whatever you consider yourself to be when it comes to Onyx Path's books, do pick up a few of your books, see if Leith's name's in the credits, and if it is, give it another read. Spend a little bit of time with words he put on the page, because he created a huge number of offerings, and I think they are all worth checking out. So, while I hate to end on a downer, I think it would be more inappropriate for me to suddenly jump back up onto a high after that. So do consider playing a game this week. That said, and if you can do it using any of Leith's content, then I think that makes it the work that he put in worthwhile, because all of us writers, creators, developers, whatever we are, we create this content so that people will use it. We certainly aren't in this for the money. It's so that people will play games. So consider that. Consider playing a game and doing it in honor of someone who dedicated a lot of time and energy to creating these games for you. So with that said, thank you very much for watching. I will return in a week's time with another episode of the Onyx Path News. And until then, have a lovely week and good gaming all.